Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sean Fuller, your host for an exciting interview series where we deep dive into the creative minds behind some of the most intriguing comics out there. With a passion for storytelling, a love for all things comics, I'm thrilled to bring to you closer to creators and their incredible works. Today, we have an exciting special guest today, Austin, driving force behind many comics, including Vanguard Princess. Um, Thank you for joining us today. I'm excited to get to know you today. All right,
For having
so no problem. So I always like to get started by just allowing you yourself, the creator, to kind of introduce yourself and kind of tell the audience about yourself.
My name is Austin Osueke. I'm a production company almost 25 years ago, 2020, 2000, and I just started off doing like and but it's not I wanted to get into comic books. There was back
Your
then,
audio is going in and out, just so you know.
what I was saying back in 2000, I was keen to get into comics, but there was no for me there was no opportunity from Texas and all that. So I decided to create my own website. 2000, the internet, I felt that the internet was I made a website and then people could see on my website. It just became starting to publish our books and stores. Just 24 years one where
So let me ask a question: how you got started? What got you started or interested in comics or even storytelling? What kind of got you interested in that?
well, I was a comic book fan. Well, so back then, I was watching one. That was the Bishop and Form. Bishop and couple. I just did because when I first saw those two black characters on the cover of the comic, I asked my mother to buy it for me, so she bought it for me. And then I was just reading stuff about icons, also in comics. Just like black comic characters. I was super fan. What really made me want to buy my first comic and be a fan was just seeing those two iconic characters on the cover and reading about and then I got into manga. My cousin back then he introduced me to a manga. I think Viz Communications that's what it's called then. They had a comic book called Xenotype. I just love the whole. It was just different from comic books. It's black and white. The characters,
Hmm.
art style just was amazing, and they were doing things that you couldn't do in comics back then, like provocative scenes and things like that. So just really gravitated towards me. But I was still a comic book fan and for Marvel, X-Men, Spider-Man type stuff. But then I realized that these characters weren't dying. They were dying, but they didn't come back. They don't any for me there was no progression in the characters. Like they don't age as fast and they just it seems like a just more of like just a franchise that there no progression and no real progression for me. So I abandoned American comics like Marvel, X-Men types, and we just totally focus on more on manga.
Okay, yeah.
And yeah, because manga to me, I saw a progression of character growth when people died, stayed dead, and meaning the manga and all that stuff. And so yeah, I just was just hooked into manga for many years, and then I was exposed to Japanese. I took Japanese in high school, and it just kind of motivated me. All these experiences motivated me to create my own manga company, American manga company, like just doing manga style, but done from my perspective.
You know
That
what's
was that.
funny? Yeah, I'm saying what's funny because you touch on a lot of stuff there, right? But there's, for example, you touched on what influenced your background of your work because you talked about manga, for example. Let's be honest. One Piece as the oldest running manga in the series is that there's a reason for that because it has a very set formula, but it's because of the fact that when you lose a character in One Piece, you just miss that person. That person doesn't show up. You don't see Ace coming back no time soon. so,
Yeah,
so on this versus when you talk about Jean Grey, how many times she got reborn for some stuff, right? Um, so I understand the love for like the story and kind of letting people endure that loss and actually building from that. And so, and I do get the same similarities because, and in terms of stuff, you also talked about kind of the big arching world that you're trying to create. So that kind of leaves me in kind of figuring out what's some of your biggest influences been in your career in terms of like mangas or comics. Which ones you kind of say stick out to you?
biggest influences. Well, it's a little difficult to answer because when I became a publisher, there were so many different. I had to wear a lot of hats. I had to wear my artistry hat. I had to wear
Hmm.
my business hat. I had to wear marketing, accounting, legalese stuff. So as a publisher, you just see things differently from not just being a publisher, and also have to deal with my team colleagues and everything. So okay, so the first thing that comes to my mind is there's a company called Dreamwave Productions.
Okay.
They're in Canada back in 2000s. Basically, I was inspired by their company because the company was made up of young guys in early 20s, and they had a team, and they were doing incredible work. The Dreamwave, if just to remind everyone, was that they made some comics like Transformers comics back then. Um, well, that was one of the biggest well known comics. Is this the
Well, that's
Transformers?
a big one.
Trans, sorry,
Yeah, that's a big
the,
one. So yeah.
yeah, they revitalized the whole Transformers franchise from their it started from their comics and all that, but just the whole spirit of the company, the young team, the incredible artwork, they're combining a lot of anime um anime artistry into their American style comics. Well, not Canadian comics, but the Western comics are they influence a lot of Ghost in the Shell, color schemes, the way there's just the way anime back then in the 90s was used shading and coloring and texture. They applied
Hmm.
that to comic, and nobody did that back then. So, well, Image. I mean, Image was applying that earlier, but just those use of colors and there's a whole overall their business, their success, and how it was young. That inspired me. And
Yeah, sure.
when I, as a publisher, um, but as an artist, an artist is basically Dragon Ball creator Akira Toriyama. He basically was the reason. Well, so many other things. Well, as an artist, Akira Toriyama was a guy for me. The first comics I did was the Dragon Ball doujinshi fan comics. So I
Hmm.
studied Toriyama's style, and I bought art books that he did that he published years ago, and he really studied that style. I didn't
Okay, hold up. You're going in and on for a second there.
or characters, even
I
minor
got
ones.
you.
I wanted to make sure they're authentic. So I studied Toriyama's work for a long time, and I did a lot of I did like a 5 issue arc for what happened after GT for Goku. So doing a just drawing doing a fan comic, it helped me understand about pacing, how to make stories, how to construct a comic together as far as panels and stories and just the whole process of it. Writing, creating a story, creating characters, um, doing the paneling, doing the artwork, sound effects, and just getting it out there. And so that was like a little it's like a drill, like my own little drill school on how to make a comic by just doing a um, just influencing him. And it's not just making a comic. I wanted to make it right. I wanted to make it good. I didn't want to make it some amateur art. So it motivated me to make the best quality comic book I could do back then. So
And I would say pacing comes in a lot because a lot of stuff that drives the entertainment value of a comic is how it's paced. Some people try to rush it and it feels rushed, and some people try to drag it out too long. And
yeah.
so finding that balance is, I would say, one of the toughest things to do. But once you have a good pace, um, it just feels authentic. It feels like you're actually telling the story.
Yeah.
So what I want to do right now, right? Because we did get to talk about a lot about your career and background. I'm going to come back to that in a few, but what I wanted to talk about right now is kind of like some of the works that you touched on right now. So you got a few works that you have. I always say we have a we can always highlight one, and then you can talk about the rest of them. And I know you got a few. I know we also have Winter Ember, so I'm not sure if you want to touch base on that one. But the reason why I like Remember Emperor right now is simple because it has a cool introduction video right now that I just think is just the mere fact that you got that done to showcase, to introduce your audience to the comic. I'm going to do that, and then you can then either talk more on it or you can talk about some other ones like Vanguard Princess and what you're doing with that. So give me a second. I'm just going to bring that in. Sorry, I meant to do this instead. How do you do this? Okay, so you would think this would be easy because I should be able to do it. I'm trying to add in. All right, do you see the share button right there? Oh wait, you probably
No.
can't. Okay. All right, I'll actually let you talk about it while I try to figure out how to bring it in. Hold on. Tell me about a comic, one of your comic books that you worked on. We can talk to and
Well,
kind of
um,
introduce the world to it.
well, okay. So you mentioned Winter Ember. Winter Ember is a comic book that we published. We published it with Blowfish Studios, or Australian-based um, media company. And Winter Ember was based off of a video game that they produced. They developed and released on the game consoles. So Winter Ember it's basically about a story about an aristocrat. His family was brutally murdered, and he was mutilated. So he went into exile. In that exile, to train himself to in the arts of combat, like martial arts, assassin, stealth, things like that. Just like, and he returned to the city to find out answers about why people came after his family and what was the motive. What was the motive behind it? Yeah. So that was produced by entirely by that company. We published it. The writer's name was Kevin Grievous. He's a very
And,
acclaimed and accomplished writer for um, Teen Titans series, mini DC works, and
oh, that's
he
the
did the Underworld franchise. So we're very happy to work in collaboration with Blowfish and Karen Grievous regarding Winter Ember. So that's Winter Ember. Um, uh, Other
so
comics I
I
worked
can show it right now if you want. I can go ahead and show it. Show the All right, cool. Guys, I'm just gonna show you the intro of the show that you're just talking about with his winter. Um, Beautiful introduction, and I hope you guys get the opportunity to see it. So let's take a look at it. It's not long. And I want to take a look at just the artistic side of this. It's so clean and very. It's like I'm looking at it from the standpoint of this is how current day mangas are. Current day comics are being done. So it looks a lot modern while still having that touch of old flair that I like. So,
yeah,
and what made you guys decide to do this video for this stuff? This is a good example of marketing done exceptionally well. So I'm proud of it.
Yeah, thanks. We're very happy about that series. We just completed the 7 issue run earlier this spring. So it was an amazing experience to work with Blowfish, their entire team, to do this, to do the right. So we're excited about um, just that comic. Yeah, like I said, we completed the 7 issue comic. So
Exactly.
yeah,
So at least people know how you do your work with other clients. But as I said, you get the opportunity to talk about one of the comics that you want to talk about, and by all means, let the audience see it, feel it. As I said, show it if you got it.
yeah. You mentioned Vanguard Princess earlier. This is
Yes.
a comic series that I wrote and we worked on. Vanguard Princess is a initially it's a computer game, and the computer game is a fighting. I'll just maybe show a few pages.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's a fighting released in 2009 by Tomoaki Sugino, an independent Japanese game. We licensed the game in 2010. We localized it into English, and we released it on platforms like Steam and Amazon. So the game itself, we had a lot of fun working on the game, but we saw we wanted to expand the universe. So we wrote the story. We knew about the character. We've been working on this game for 15 years, so we knew the characters inside and out. So we wanted to just work on a comic book series based off the characters, their background story, on why they're what they are. And initially, it was a dot com, like a digital comic, and an add-on to the game. Like if you bought the game, you get the comic. But we wanted to give it its own life, so we want to print it out and circulate it to stores as another comic as well. Yeah, so we had some issues. Well, we try to we follow closely with the characters, but some issues we have a little fun with it. Like the second issue, we had a mockery of Donald Trump, and some people liked it, some people didn't. So um,
So I was gonna
yeah,
ask you. So what kind of theme or messaging you're trying to get across with that manga that you're working on?
this
Yeah.
well for me. Let's see. Well, the thing is, like, I was influenced by Udon Studios. Udon Studios, they made the Street Fighter comic. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but they made comic books based off of Street Fighter 2, the series. So when I met with the president many years ago, he just kind of motivated me to make our own little comic based off our own little fighting game to 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 flesh out the characters, to make your own story, to make it to run with it. So we did
Kind of give
that.
them a little bit more depth that Mortal Kombat does with all the movies that they drop. I was saying, kind of give the story, the characters in the game a little bit more depth because let's be honest, in the game we just use them to fighting. We're not really used to using them for like tell a story. But just like with the comics that you just speaking like a Street Fighter, for example, they actually built all these different media points so people can engage with the different characters so they can figure out which characters they actually mesh with just because of that, not just because they look good in the designs.
That's exactly why we did it because as you know, stories aren't very an important point of fighting games, but in comics we have more time and more opportunity to flesh out the story. So I do want to mention one other comic.
Go
This is
ahead.
Swipe of the Fox is a comic that I really worked with. I worked with NBA star De'Aaron Fox. He played for the Sacramento Kings. Basically, De'Aaron Fox is a huge anime fan. He loves Dragon Ball Z. So
Mm-hmm.
we got together, me, ourselves and ourselves, him, and his agency, and we just put the story together. Swipe of the Fox is basically about a fictionalized version of him. He's test playing a video game that a game company is making for him, and they're using virtual reality and and yeah and artificial intelligence to make the game as real as possible. So and competitive as possible for him. Like they want their game characters to be able to beat a real indie star. So he tests the game out. Something goes wrong. He's trapped in the video game. So what we want to do is like put
Sword
the
Art
people out.
Online.
Yeah. So that's that. It's just it's a comic that I worked on, and I was an NBA fan, but I really didn't know much about basketball as far as the many intricacies of it. So it was awesome
Mhm.
working with him and working with basketball coaches to correct the story because we learned about plays and just details,
The,
important
the
details.
technical stuff of it, like defense. I played basketball when I was in high school, and yeah, there's a lot of intricacy that goes into the fundamentals of the game.
So it made me appreciate basketball even more, not just the NBA, but college and high school, and just yeah, it was just an amazing experience, and working with a great guy like De'Aaron and his team. So those are those perks of
And you,
working with my.
and I'm liking the fact that you get the opportunity to kind of work with other people to build their comics and build out their ideas, because a lot of people what I've been meeting on while I was getting the conversation and trying to get these conversations going, a lot of people are stuck in certain areas of their development of their comics. Some people are either they already built out the comic and they haven't launched it yet, or they have a launch date in the future, something like that. And some people just have an idea, and it's like how you get them to the crossroads. I see that you get the opportunity to just showcase people that working with you, that they get to move from idea to concept, and it sounds like you even pitch some of these people to kind of sell them your vision for what you're trying to do with their consent.
Well, it wasn't necessarily pitching; it came to us, Blowfish, and and De'Aaron. The thing
So they
is
gave
that
the
it's just
idea to you.
no, like we, they came together. They already Blowfish. They already had their concept.
Hmm.
With De'Aaron's team, we made the concept with him.
Okay.
But they just kind of wanted to make a comic book, but it was up to us to write it and conceive the story. But the thing is, like I mentioned before, is like I've been doing this for about 20, almost 25 years, 24, and we just had a lot of catalogs of productions and comics, animation and things like that. We're not big, we're so indie, but we had a just the experience that we've been doing this for quite a while. So it gives us opportunity to be exposed to opportunities and people approach us with things. But it's just I'm nobody special. I'm just like everybody else. As a publisher founder,
Hmm.
I started off as a fan, made my way around. I didn't go to school for comics or the business of comics. I just doing this for a long time. During happy and sad and painful periods, just kept at it and things like that. So all I can well, want to say to creators everywhere, just keep at it. Just love what you're doing, and you make mistakes, you just learn from it. And I made a lot of mistakes, and I did a lot of things that weren't related to the comics. But the more I did it, the more I knew what I wanted to do, the style that I wanted, and the people that I wanted to sell my comic to. So I just learned who I am as a creator, and who the people who I want to sell my work to. It takes time and just grinding and all
Takes
that.
time and practice, yes. And as he said, guys, and I was gonna ask him to say that again. Patience, the game. You spend 20 years doing it. That means it took a lot of calluses to get to where he's right now in terms of he knowing what he wants to do. So it's a lot of times I have to say some people move faster than others, but it's all about patience at the end of the game because everyone's trying to win the same race. I was gonna ask you specifically about the comic though. When do you have like an idea of how long you plan to make it in terms of seasons or episodes or chapters? Do you guys normally start off with that example of saying we're gonna do only 12, we're gonna do except we're just gonna leave it open ended and see where we can take it from there. How you kind of plan to, because this goes into
I'm sorry.
pacing what we talked about earlier.
My,
So
I'm sorry. Like your screen froze, so I didn't hear what you said. Your question earlier. Please repeat it.
oh sure,
Sorry.
I can repeat it. So for the comic that you're talking about right now, how many episodes or chapters do you have planned for it? And the reason I'm asking that because you talk about pacing, and a lot of time that kind of dictate how you pace the show. So how do you guys went about discussing number of chapters and how you gonna pace it from that point?
Right. Well, for Winter Ember, that is done already. That was we had 7 chapters and a zero issue as well. That's done. Um, Vanguard Princess, it's ongoing. I've done 3 issues now. I'm working on a four, and this is a long time. This is slow pace. Like I'm not in a hurry to make news comics. People are for this comic, so like I do, like I did like a 1 year and everything, and it didn't matter to me because we're just doing it online. So the pace is fine. As far as Swiper goes, it's really up to the studio now because I mean up to Darren and his manager team because when we worked on it with him before in a few years ago, he had one agency, but then he moved on to another agency, and um, I think I'm not sure. I guess he's focused on other things in his basketball career. Like like last year he tried to he was trying to make it yeah make it further into the playoffs. Like the first time that the Kings went to the playoffs in five
That makes
certain
perfect
years,
sense.
and now I think it's a lot of a lot of big money supermax contract stuff. So that's kind of more of their focus now. So right now we only worked on one issue, and like I initially I planned it's written off as a one shot because we weren't really sure about um, how far how far we'd take it, but like it's a the story is kind of open ended, but if things go move forward, we can't complete the story out in move detail. Yeah, like I said, prefer like Vanguard Princess. I'm just taking our time on it. We have 3 issues are available on Steam. Working on a fourth chapter right now. So
So I always like to ask, how can people find and purchase your comics, as well
yeah,
as how do you want people to support you? So I know I put your media handles out, so they're part of the chat. You can also shout them out here, and you can also tell them how people can support you.
yeah. So just go to egomanga.com. It's our website for everything about what we do. And our books, our various titles, they're in various stores. So you can you can just do like a Google search on like one of our titles, like Old Man or something. You can go get it at a border. Same for Winter Ember, there too. I mean Barnes and Nobles. And but yeah, our Ego Manga would be the central place to go access, purchase our books, and even just message me directly. I'm also on social media like Facebook and Twitter. I answer many of the direct messages, so anyone can send me
That's
a
how we
DM
got
anytime.
connected.
Yeah,
So quick
so
question. So quick question. I have a few questions before we wrap up. One question: do you do like any webtoons or any kind of web platforms that you have your work on, just by chance, or
well, good question. We do have um, Winter Ember is on Global Comics. It's a visual comic platform. We do have some stuff on Comixology if they're still around. We have things on Amazon, Kindle Direct. We have our own app. It's called Comic Climax. It's a mobile app where we stream all of our titles free. It's on the App Store. We'll make an update for Android soon. Those are our platforms. But as far as webtoons, yeah, it's we may have to well we do have a few titles that we made some webtoons for. It's on our it's exclusively on our app. But we just basically for the most part focus on the conventional comic book formats, not the webtoons um, vertical format as of now. But
yeah.
hopefully in the future we'll adapt to that.
Uh, the reason I asked that is because it's like I'm literally do I. You're right about the formatting, because I just my team just happened to be very new to everything, so they said they could do both, and it's a different way of formatting because the length that's the this a comic that is considered on a typical scale in terms of small or short, say 6 or 7 pages. So let's say 12 pages for the sake of argument.
Yes.
In that format is way too long for most people to consume. So you have to break it up. So I've seen that has been one of the differences in the formatting, but it also makes it a lot easier to kind of pace your shows. Because in those, the reason I brought it up is because in those platforms, it's kind of like you lose them or use them kind of your audience. The audience always expected to be publishing regularly, and sometimes
Yeah.
comics don't pace that well. Like this is so some creators go a couple months between launches because of how long it takes to build this stuff. Um,
Yeah.
but but that was just a question. The other question I actually wanted to can you share any memorable moments or experience you had in your journey thus far as a publisher working on comics? Like pick one good one you'd like, yo, that was kind of a you remember that one.
Oh, well, there's quite a good few moments. I would say one of my big moments was recently. It's regarding um, Swipe with a Fox.
Mm-hmm.
We a few years ago at San Diego Comic Con, we invited Darren to promote the comic with us. He couldn't make it because he was getting married that summer. But what we did is like we had a huge they gave us like a huge room to promote the comic. So literally thousands of people were there for Darren, but we did the panel and we did the panel with me and my team and of friends and their agents, and we just were just sitting hanging out, just talking about the comic and we talked about Darren and all that stuff. But it was just a great thing because even though he wasn't there, it was people still loved us for the comic and our expertise and I was just with my friends. My friends, we got together, we worked on this comic, and I guess the best thing is just if you can do it with your friends and succeed with your friends, that's it was an amazing, memorable thing because we were just among thousands of people at San Diego Comic Con, the biggest comic book conference in the world, and that was 20 years of that we were commemorating 20 years of being in business. It was 20 years, thousands of people, Comic Con, and I did it with my friends, celebrate with my friends. That was an experience that I just won't ever forget. So, but I've had other great experiences, but that's just what punctuates that stands out to me all the time.
What advice would you give to a inspiring comic book creator right now that's just getting started, especially in this market where you know what's going on. You've been at it 20 years. They kind of see the shift.
Well, digital is your friend. There's what I there's a huge difference in breaking in now than it was for me back in 2000. You have a lot of great ways to print your book cheaply and at the pace that you want. Uh, just internet is so much easier and more accessible now, and it's just so many venues for you to go to, so many comic book conventions where you can go to showcase your work. So, and there's so many ways. You have Kickstarter now. Kickstarter, you can have a community fund your work. You have the finance and support of crowdfunding. So many different resources at your fingertips, literally, to get your comic book out there. And so I
What's
mean,
something
you still have to market your book, you have to sell it and all that. But um, just so many opportunities now, and
you know?
there's no
You
excuse.
know, you brought up a very good point, and it's kind of funny. I'm going to pet your brain as a publisher right now because I think you probably know a better answer than most people think. So if you're thinking about kickstarting or someone that's looking to be able to get some real cash behind their project, what size audience you think is a good place to start for them, or the medium audience size? Um, because some people might be able to go to a comic con and may sell 10 books, but they only have 10 people as an audience. That's not a good audience to start off a a Kickstarter on, but we're not. But do they need to get to a million followers first before they get to it? We don't know. So, what do you think is a good audience size for someone to start thinking about that route?
Yeah, well, I done three Kickstarters. Um, they all succeeded, but and I didn't have an audience at all at Kickstarter. So what worked for me is that I joined a lot of Facebook comic book groups,
Okay.
and I promoted my Kickstarters there. And but I was before I promoted my Kickstarter, I was an actual fan. I was actually um, an actual member of the group. I post things. I comment on other people's stuff. I was an actual member. I
So
didn't
people
just
know you before you started doing it.
and I didn't just go there just to go in promote leave. So, but I do what somebody told me who was successful with Kickstarter is just join as many comic book groups as you can on and on social media and participate in those members in those groups. When your time is to come to promote your Kickstarter, just do it once a week and keep at it. It's a grind. It is a grind. And what I did is like when I had my first Kickstarter, I kept the list of all the people who joined my group, who supported the Kickstarter. So
Mhm.
I kept the email list, and then I promoted them of future Kickstarters that I'm doing. So they knew my work, they supported me in the past, and so there's a good chance a good number of them would support my future Kickstarter project. I'm still not perfect at it. Like I'm doing a new Kickstarter now. It's actually for Vanguard Princess. I made a mobile app for a mobile game for it.
Mhm.
So it's right now what I'm on for the Kickstarter for that. I'm doing something different because it's not a conventional comic book. I'm just building up my followers through Kickstarter. Like just build like I have a pre-launch campaign, and people can sign up by just and be notified when the com when the when the Kickstarter goes live. So I'm very close to 100. I'm like at 96 followers. So I was told if you can build 200 followers on that pre-launch campaign, it will help you succeed. So I'm just
Wow.
doing that. I'm I'm I have the pre-launch campaign. I'm doing some conventions soon. I'm going to be exhibiting at Anime Expo and later at San Diego Comic Con in July. So and then follow up with some more email marketing for that Kickstarter. Yeah, I'd like to reach 200. I'm at 98, 96 now. So if I reach a certain benchmark, then I'll do the campaign with the existing people that I've already that supported me in past Kickstarters. But
That's.
it's tough. Kickstarter, it's not fun.
I would say
But it's not fun
selling
to.
comics is just selling when you're starting out selling your comics is just one of those needed to develop skills because a lot of people are very good at the creation of the work, but not necessarily selling of the work. And so this whichever platform Kickstarter selling in public. I mean, selling it through bookstores like Barnes and Noble or KDP, or even going into Comic Cons and just setting up a booth. Either one of those skill sets need to be fleshed out because once you get is once you're able to now fund your project, now you can spend more time doing it kind of ways that you like, kind of get the sponsorship stuff about and that. So wrapping up, this is kind of wrap up session, right? Because we had such a fun conversation thus far, but we can't give them too much. We have to always make them want to come back and talk to us again. Uh, what are you working on any other projects? You did talk about your Kickstarter, so I'm going to say shout out to the Kickstarter. Support there. You also talk about where people can find your work. I'll also plug it in the description so people can actually see it. And you also talk about some advice. So yeah, anyone you want to shout out before we wrap up? I would say keep it to like three people you want to shout out to. I know you want to shout out your wife and kids, but it's just, but
If they see this Sunday, sure. That's shout out to all the the creators out there who are just starting out and keep at it. It's like just run your own race. That's run your own race. Don't compete because there's people. they already have that colleagues that they actually have animation series TV deals,
Hmm.
and they've been doing it less years. But I just gotta run my race. Same for the creators out there, starting day one or day 366 or whatever. Just create your own race. Just race your own race and keep at it and don't give up. Just do
Okay,
what you
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. As Now let's wrap up. Everyone, thank you for taking the opportunity to listen to us on this Sunday afternoon for another episode of Behind the Comic. I want to thank Austin for coming in as a guest and actually sitting down with me and actually giving the opportunity to share a lot of his experience and time and sharing some of his work. Um, you can see that he's gone the gambit between working on his own projects to working with other producers to get their stuff out, and it just looks like awesome, good work. I love it. I want to support it as well. Thank you for taking the time, everyone. Thank you for showing up for us, and you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Peace. Have a good day.